the various incarnations of the Lord, and he would hear about so many wonderful devotees. Their lives has been described in the Puranas. So he made it a point to attend the lectures every day, every evening. So every evening he would leave for the place where the discourse was, and on his way he would inform his parrot that I'm leaving for the discourse now. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. The parrot would say, goodbye, Hare Krishna. And he would say, Hare Krishna, and he would leave. And then he would come back and every day narrate to his parrot. He would tell the parrot all that had happened during the lecture. So the parrot would get to hear from him. And this parrot had somehow evolved, had become a very good listener. This parrot had become interested in spiritual subject matters, somehow. So when the parrot got to hear about the life of Parikshit Maharaj and the Pandavas, and he heard about creation that is done by Brahmaji, and then he heard about the son of Devahuti, Kapila Muni, and Lord Varahadev's appearance, and Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Vamanadev's pastimes, the parrot was feeling very excited. And the parrot would eagerly wait for the gentleman to come back and tell him the stories as he had heard from the saintly person. On the seventh day, as the man was leaving for the discourse, the parrot asked the man, or requested the man that he ask a question to the speaker on his behalf. So the man said, you have a question? He said, yes. What is your question? My question is, please ask the saint how will I be liberated? How can I be liberated? साधु महाराज से पूछेगा कि हम मुक्त कैसे हो सकते हैं? Just imagine. It's been such a long time since many of us have asked that question to anyone. How can I be liberated? When will I be liberated? So the man was also very much amazed. He was like, oh, my parrot is so very serious in understanding liberation. So he sat for the discourse. It was the final day of the discourse, of the 7-day presentation. And in the end, when everyone was going forward and seeking blessings from the speaker, the saintly person, he also went forward and he said, Maharajji, I have a question. So he looked up. The saint looked up. The sadhu looked up at him. And he said, actually this question is from my parrot. And there was this quizzical look on the face of the sadhu. He said, your parrot has a question for me? He said, yes, every day after hearing a lecture, I go back and narrate everything to my parrot. In fact, I am my parrot. We have a very, very wonderful relationship. We Hare Krishna, we hear or we read the Bhagavad Gita every day. I read it, he hears it. In fact, he has memorized so many verses from the Bhagavad Gita. So what is the question that the parrot is asking? The sadhu, He said, Maharaji, my parrot has requested you to please answer his question. His question is, how will I be liberated? As soon as the sadhu hears that question, the sadhu falls unconscious. Like, just drops down as if, it appears as if he's dead. So our gentleman, the gentleman with the parrot, is literally shocked. He's like, what did I do? Did I just give him a heart attack? I mean, what happened? This question really impressed him so much. He looks like dead. And the people around are also very confused. So our gentleman realizes that this situation is not very favorable for him. And if something disastrous would happen right then he would be to blame. That is what he was thinking within his mind. So he slowly snuck away. He slowly left the place so that no one could see that he was no longer there. Quietly, he just disappeared. And within his heart, he was feeling very sad. What did I do? Sadhu Hatya. I'm responsible for the death of a sadhu, a speaker of the Bhagavatam. Oh my God. He's really feeling very guilty. Very, very guilty. So he goes home, he opens his door. Every day when he would enter his house, he'd call out to his parrot, Hare Krishna. But today, he was still in a state of shock. So the door opens and he just walks in and the parrot looks at him and he says, did you ask the question? And the man is like, that question, the parrot's voice kind of just penetrates through all of his shock. And he wakes up like, oh, I'm home. He said, yes, I did ask the question, but you know what happened after that? He said, no, please tell me what is the answer. He says, there is no answer. Oh, the sadhu did not know the answer to this question. He says, so the man told him that as soon as I asked a question to the sadhu, and the parrot is very eager, he says, go on, tell me what happened. What is the answer? He says, wait, I asked a question and you won't believe what happened after that. And the parrot says, please don't be melodramatic. Please give me the answer. You know how people are sometimes, they are in this really strange situation, and before they can describe to anyone what actually happened, they just express their sentiments like, wow, you won't believe what happened. Trust me, it really happened. Come on, what happened? Tell us that. So the parrot was really anxious to hear. This was a question that really mattered to him. So please tell me what is the answer. The gentleman said, there is no answer. As soon as I asked the sage this question. So the parrot said, did you remember what the question was really? Could you repeat to me what you asked, what question you asked the sage on my behalf? And he said, yes, I asked the sage that my parrot has asked that how will it be liberated? And then what happened? Did he give an answer? He said, no, he did not give an answer, because as soon as I asked him this question, how will my parrot be liberated? He fell down unconscious, completely lifeless. And I had to sneak away. And when the parrot heard that, that the saint had fallen unconscious, the parrot dropped down dead. On hearing that the sage had fallen unconscious, the parrot dropped down dead. Now this was a second shock for this man. He was like, what is the matter? Why are people dropping down dead around me? First it is a saint, and now it's my parrot. And he goes, hey, parrot. He's like, come on, Dhritarashtra Vacha. Sarva dharman parit. The parrot does not respond. The parrot is lying on its back with its feet up. So the man realized there is nothing much he could do. He realized that his parrot is dead. So he said, all right, let me at least bury the parrot to the final rites. So he opened the cage, the door to the cage, and as soon as he opened the door to the cage, the parrot flew out. Now this man is really shocked. What happened? The parrot was, I thought it was dead. The parrot is no longer here. So he's so much confused by all these turn of events, and finding no answer to his confusion, he goes and seeks help from the sadhu. But the sadhu yesterday had, this. I'm not even sure if the sadhu is alive or not. So he asked around, is the sadhu okay? And people told him, yes, yesterday he just fell down unconscious and now he's okay. So he said, all right, let me go to the sadhu and ask him, what is the meaning of all of this? So he goes to the sadhu, and the sadhu looks at him and he says, how is your parrot? The man says, I no longer have a parrot. Tell me what happened. He said, I went home. Well, first of all, you fell unconscious. I thought you were dead. I did not want the blame on me, so I just ran away. I went home. My parrot asked me. If I had asked you the question, I told the parrot that I asked the question, and he said, what happened after that? I told him, you fell unconscious, practically dead. And hearing that, my parrot fell down dead, or so I thought. And when I went to open the door to the cage, to perform the final rites for my parrot just flew out of the cage to the door and flew away. And the sadhu was so happy, he was smiling. He said, so, did you understand? He said, no. So the sadhu explained to him, the sadhu said, the parrot understood why I had responded to his question in that manner. Because the parrot was sharp and the parrot was seeking liberation from its bondage. So I fell down unconscious, or I appeared to be unconscious, for that was the answer to the parrot's question. As soon as you thought your parrot was dead, you opened the door to the cage, which you otherwise would never do that. So the parrot could understand what I meant. You still haven't understood that. You are still so much distracted by your various desires. You are still distracted by so many aspirations in this material world. You are like a parrot that is bound within the cage of this material world, this material life. And unless and until you become completely detached from all that this material world has to offer, you become detached from the illusions of this material world, you can never be liberated. It's not possible to be liberated. He said, dear man, a parrot can understand how easy it is to get liberated. But you are still not able to understand that. That is your misfortune. So that was my story for today. Parrot and liberation. Thank you very much.
please. Because that is the ultimate answer, so you don't need any more.
Krishna, when he explains to Arjuna the essence of all knowledge, which we know today as the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. Any ladies here called Nisha? No names. It's a very common name. Nisha. Nisha.
In Gujarati special.
Nisha means night. Night. Darkness. Nisha. Night time. Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutani. That which is considered to be night time by all living entities. Yasyam Jagrati. Does he Yanisha Sarva Bhutani or Sata Sanyami? I think I said that. Yasyam. So that is when liberated souls are awake. So what is night time for the living entities in this material world? Pleasure. It's the pleasures of this material world. And night time for them is the absence of those pleasures. So wherever the living entities in this material world feel, oh, this is not a happy place to be, this is not a happy time for us. And generally, where are living entities feeling that they are not happy? Whenever they have to practice some spiritual, they have to accept some spiritual path. No one is really happy about it. Why is that? Because to practice spiritual life, one needs to control the senses. That is important. Besides controlling the senses, if anything else was expected, people would take up to spiritual life. But controlling the senses is not really desirable, especially for someone who is materially motivated. The material platform is give me more. I want more. Isn't it? More Mahaprasad. More pizzazz. More time with friends on chat, WhatsApp. They are no longer happy on WhatsApp with just words, so now they have emoticons. And a new vocabulary. PLZ, please. Yes. Did I ever tell you the first time I kind of made this stupid mistake of calling ZZ? At a university in Toronto. So I was at this university program, York University. This was like years ago. And somehow in my presentation, it was a PowerPoint presentation, there was some mention of Beyonce and Jay-Z. So Beyonce and Jay-Z are American citizens. Sorry, you had something to say?
In Canada, it is Z, right?
It is Z
It
still?
is Z in Canada, but
Yeah.
in the US it's Z.
Z.
That's why the difference.
Okay.
In Canada,
we
it is
say
Z.
Z.
It is-
Even in
but
India
the
we
US
say
it's
Z,
Z.
Z.
Right. So
We
you,
still call him Jay-Z.
Even in UK it's Z.
He's American.
In Kenya
he's
it's Z.
American. Yeah. Still Z here? That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you.
It's only
We're still
Americans.
real American.
Yeah, it's still A to Z.
Yeah,
Not A to Z. Says people. It's kind of become a slang.
In the corporate world, I guess it is A to Z.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So anyways, I was making that presentation. I had absolutely no idea who Beyonce was and who Jay-Z was. I kind of just get the theme of my presentation and I give it to somebody else who's more equipped to make slides out of it. So that person came up with that. And as usual, I'm so smart that I just read all the slides, especially if there are these pictures there. And I was making this presentation and just like Beyonce and Jay Z, how does that go? Luckily, there wasn't really a huge crowd. It was not big enough for me to kind of realize that I had made clown out of myself. That, what, you don't even know Jay-Z? Yeah, so. How did I tell you the story about Z?
Please.
PLs.
PLZ, yes, thank you, please. So, the vocab is also changing. Yeah, the vocabulary is also changing. It took me some time to realize what is GR8. I'm like, GR8. Especially if you know you're having a Hindi conversation with the English script and on WhatsApp. Yeah, like खेल आना है ना खेल क्यों आओ खेल अच्छा कल आना So we want to have more. We want to have more and more facility where we can express our material emotions. That is the material world. And being in this material world, it is important that you at least present yourself as someone notable in this material world. I mean, you don't want to be a non-entity here, so you kind of want to be in the groove, you want to be there, you want to not sound different from the others around you. So you pick up on that, and this is how we could just go on increasing our material attachments. So sense gratification is not really helpful. Sense enjoyment is not really helpful. But spiritual life is not about giving up sense enjoyment. Spiritual life is about using our senses such that our senses are satisfied. We don't ask for more. Yes? Like every day drink Karela juice. So practically nobody asks for more. But that is not how the senses are to be used. The senses are used in service of Krishna. Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sejana. To be able to do that, one has to reduce the material fever, as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says. One has to bring down the material fever. We have to find a way to be in this world, but not of this world. Brahmanya adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti. lipyate sacha papenam padmapatramivamnas. Like a lotus leaf in water is untouched by water. Krishna says similarly one must be in this world but not of this world. How do we do that? By chanting Krishna's holy names. Well, I've been doing that for a long time. So why don't I feel like a lotus leaf in water? I feel like a tissue paper dropped in water, soaked up completely in material desires. Why don't I feel like that? Because we have not become unconscious to material distractions. Now, did I ever give the example of how difficult it is on a long haul flight as a devotee? You kind of are brave enough to have your bead bag in your hands and the beads in your hands, but your eyes are constantly moving from one blue screen to another.
Yeah.
That screen in front of you that is dark because I am a devotee. I do not watch movies. But what is that person watching? Ever had that experience when kind of your screen is not working and you're engrossed in trying? It's a visual presentation without any audio. And you're trying to make sense of what is happening in the screen ahead of you. You're like, this way and that. And the person who's actually having the earphones and is receiving the audio is bored, so kind of fast forwards, and you're like, why did you have to fast forward? I'm watching. Now you make a mental note, when I go home, I have to watch this movie again. That was really very interesting. So we are still absorbed in what the material world has to offer. Unfortunately. If we stay in association, association which has this attraction to serving Krishna, then slowly we get affected by that association. Unfortunately, at a workplace, at educational institutes, even in these communities that we live in, there are so many distractions. So we have to try. We must make an attempt. That is all. Krishna says that. Don't worry about the consequences. You just surrender unto me. I will take care of everything else. Yeah. It's like a little child that's been bullied. So one day the child comes to school and the bullies, they come up to the child and the child says, careful! You have no idea what would happen to you if I get angry. And the bullies are like, whoa, you getting angry, what would happen to us? Well, if I get angry, then this person besides me would get angry too. And then they look up, who's he? My dad. That is what Krishna says. Just take shelter of me. Yes. And the material world would not be able to bully you anymore. She comes up to you and you say, careful, don't dare distract me. What are you going to do, you puny little living entity? Says the material world, and you're like, not me, my dad. Yeah. So Krishna is asking us to take shelter of it. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasya. Do not worry. Like a parent tells a child at night, do not worry, beta, go to sleep. I'm there, I'll watch over you. Krishna is there. Yes, take shelter of my lotus feet, sleep in there, and I'll take care of you. When Lord Chaitanya, he appeared in this material world, it was an amazing experience for those who associated with Lord Chaitanya. There are so many wonderful pastimes. Like Lord Chaitanya with the puppy. Lord Chaitanya was asking his mother, I want to have a pet. So his mother said, no, we cannot have pets. No, I want to have a pet. So he gets a puppy from somewhere. One day he finds a litter, 4 to 5 puppies, and he kind of likes one. It doesn't mean dislikes the others, but his friends kind of, maybe they pick up the others, so he has one of them. He brings that puppy home. And his mother is, she's a single mother right now. Her husband is no more. So she's very anxious that he should not bring the puppy home, but at the same time, little Nimai could become very angry too. So his mother realizes that this is not the right moment to tell him to give up the puppy. So she tells him that, all right, let the puppy be here. Now it is time for lunch, so you should go and take your bath in the Ganga. In those days, people would take bath before lunch. It helps the appetite. Have a bath before lunch. So he went for his bath. By the time he returned, the puppy was gone. Where is my puppy? Where is my puppy? He ransacked the entire house. Broke every single thing that he could break in the house. And practically everything in those days was breakable. And then finally realized that I did something bad. So he felt a little guilty. And he goes out and sits in the courtyard. Like, I'm angry at you, but within his heart, he's feeling bad that now his mother has to get everything together again. So he's sitting outside in the courtyard, and his mother comes up to him and gently she holds on to him against her chest and she says, well, Nimai, it is lunchtime. However, there's no plates in the house because you broke everything. How do I serve you lunch? So he manifests some gold from somewhere. He says, Mother, take this. And his mother is like, if I ask him again where he got this from, he could get angry again. And then she gets some crockeries, serves him lunch, and he was taking his afternoon siesta. Little children do that, especially in India when the weather is really hot in the afternoon. Children are put to bed after lunch. Otherwise, they would play out in the sun and get sick. In the marketplace, there is something interesting happening. A puppy is chanting Hare Krishna. I mean, literally, like, I don't know how a puppy would do that. Bark. Puppies. No. Hare Krishna. It sounded sweet. And everyone is amazed. So there's a crowd formed around the puppy, and when there's a big enough crowd, the puppy is like what are they called? Those who perform?
A busker.
The sopranos? Like a soprano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like a soprano. He like comes to the climax of his presentation, and everyone is like, oh wow! And then the puppy drops down dead.
Oh.
And as soon as the puppy drops down dead, spark, a spiritual spark appears in the puppy's body, and everyone can see that spark. And now the spark turns into a very beautiful personality with 4 hands. It spans. And an airplane arrives. And there are residents from the Vaikuntha planet, the Vaikuntha Dutas, on that plane, and they welcome this soul onto the plane and bring that soul back home, back to Godhead. Somehow this story got lost and it's no longer available on social media, but it's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Lord Chaitanya, he kind of gave so much mercy. It was really an amazing experience for everyone who associated with Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya wrapped up his pastimes. He, Lord Nityananda, and everyone left. And one particular young man, in his attempt to try and seek Lord Chaitanya's mercy, missed out on the opportunity. His father had seen Lord Chaitanya take sannyas. And when he heard Lord Chaitanya's name, Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, that name stuck in his mind and in his heart. And after that, all he could ever speak was Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. You ask him anything, any question, or if he would ever have a conversation, it would all be only Chaitanya conversation, like Chaitanya. And people had to figure out what that meant. So the only thing that would come out of his mouth was Chaitanya. So literally everyone called him Chaitanya Das. His son, when the son was at an age where he could understand things happening around, his son noticed that his father was always chanting Lord Chaitanya's name. So he asked his mother what happened. He asked the villagers, they all informed him. So he was very much interested in meeting Lord Chaitanya. And when he felt that he was old enough to travel on his own, he received the news that Lord Chaitanya had disappeared. Now what should he do? Well, Lord Nityananda was there. So he went to approach Lord Nityananda in Navadvip. And by the time he reached Navadvip, Lord Nityananda has disappeared. So he really felt very alone. The people informed him, don't be so dejected. We still have Gadadhar. So he walked all the way from Navadvip in Bengal to Jagannath Puri, where Gadadhar Pandit was residing in Orissa. And when he was on the outskirts of the village, he got the news that Gadadhar Pandit had disappeared. Actually, there's a twist to the story. He did come to meet Gadadhar. And he said, please describe to me Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And Gadadhar said, well, I'm so grief-stricken now. I cannot remember anything. But there is a person in Bengal. That person has written down all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in the form of a book. So please could you bring that book? So Gadadhar's, this devotee's name is Srinivas Acharya later on. He asked him that, please, do you have a book yourself? And he said, I have mine, but in separation from Lord Chaitanya, my tears have washed away all the words. So I need another book. So he goes all the way to Bengal, gets a book from there. And by the time he comes back, Gadadhar Pandit has disappeared. So finally he feels that, all right, maybe the only way to meet them is if I disappear too. I'll take samadhi. At night, he had a dream and a vision. Lord Gauranga appeared to him and he said, no, you should go to Vrindavan. And there you will meet your spiritual master and you will meet Jiva Goswami And in the association of Jiva Goswami, you will feel my presence. So go to Vrindavan. So he left for Vrindavan. And there, under the tutelage of Jiva Goswami, he learned all the scriptures and he came back to Bengal, to his village, Jajigram. And every day in the morning, after worshipping his deity of Lord Krishna and Gauranga, he would sit down under a tree and for 3 hours he would give morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. You are fortunate enough that he is not our founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada instituted Bhagavatam class such that we only have to listen to class 20 minutes to 45 minutes. Can you imagine 3 hours every day? And the local villagers would come and with rapt attention listen to him. One day as he was giving class, there was a procession going down the road right next to his house. It was a marriage procession. Now this is 500 years ago. So 500 years ago, there would be, in a marriage procession, there would be a lot of people, generally all males. And the newly married man would either be on a horse or a palanquin, and his bride would practically be the only female in the entire procession. She would be in a palanquin too. So here was this gentleman in a palanquin, and this gentleman was a very rich person from the neighboring village. So there was this Srinivas Acharya's village is Jajigram, and the neighboring village was Kumaranagar. So he was from that village. Very wealthy. And a very reputed person in that village. So a lot of villagers from his village were members of that procession. When Srinivas Acharya saw that procession and he saw this wealthy person, he saw him in the palanquin. Suddenly, in a loud voice, loud enough, not really shouting, but loud enough for everyone to hear, he said, "Just see how everyone is spending so much of time and money on processions like this. They are thinking that they are going to be happy and they will be enjoying this material body, but Maya is going to make them work so hard to maintain their material opulences that ultimately they will be having froth in their mouth, working and working and working." No one understands this. People do not understand that they have to serve Krishna. This is such a great misfortune. So everyone in the audience and everyone in the marriage procession heard it. But the gentleman who had recently gotten married was so much affected by those words that he told the entire procession, "You all continue, I'll come a little later." He actually got down from his palanquin. And when people realized that this could be disastrous, they told him, No, please one. Your reputation, your family name, please consider all of that. Sit in a palanquin. So he just sat there, continued on, went home. Now in Bengal, marriage processions in those days would happen during the day, not at night. Especially if, when they are coming back after marriage. So this was midday. So he waited for the entire day. At night, he took absence of leave from his newly married wife and went to Jajigra. Now, this is night time. In a village 500 years ago, practically everyone is asleep. So he took shelter in a local person's house, slept there. Next morning, as soon as Srinivasa Acharya was up and had finished worshipping his deity, he went and fell at his lotus feet. And he said, "Your words have affected me such. I want to renounce everything and just dedicate my life to Krishna." This person is Ramachandra. And because he was a very good physician, they call him Ramachandra Kaviraj. So Srinivasa Acharya told him, "You may not remember, but let me tell you that we have been friends for many, many births. And just as I have another dear friend, Narottam Das Thakur, similarly you are my dear friend. And when I saw you yesterday, I remembered who you are. And I realized that you are getting into such a predicament. You are thinking that this is the goal of life, just for an ashram. Getting married, having children, and then finally just giving up one's life. I had to speak up. And Ramchandra Kaviraj was so grateful to Srinivasa Acharya. At a recent wedding, just last month, one of my friends was the priest at the wedding. Devotee community. Now, they especially wanted a particular ceremony to be incorporated into this wedding. You know what is that ceremony? Everyone knows that ceremony. Right before they take their vows and go around the fire, a sannyasi has to come to the wedding. This is the ceremony. And the sannyasi has to come to the boy about to get married and say to that boy, "This is your last chance." If you want, you can still just go away. And both the boy and the girl wanted that ceremony in their wedding.
Wow.
But the ceremony is now just a ritual. So somebody comes up on behalf of the sannyasi and says, "This is the last chance. Would you want to get married or would you want to go and join the brahmachari ashram?" I mean, what if the boy becomes a little whimsical and says, "Okay, I joined the brahmachari ashram." Well, in Kali Yuga, everyone is so whimsical that when you want them to be whimsical, they will not be whimsical. Ramchandra Kaviraj, he could understand. The words of Srinivasa Acharya penetrated his heart. Because it was spoken with such compassion. The rest of the people in the procession could not understand it. So, when we receive spiritual instructions or when we have spiritual inspiration, if you're not careful to imbibe it, if you're not careful to absorb those instructions and follow them, then we will just be sleeping to our spiritual goal, towards our spiritual goal, and we may be very active towards our material distractions. So we have to try, make an effort. Yeah. Otherwise, sometimes, in all honesty, devotees feel that they are the most miserable species on this planet, practicing devotees. Material enjoyment, there is no hope. In spiritual practice, there seems to be no end in sight. Isn't it? But our hope is Krishna. Krishna is real. Krishna's holy names are real. Everything else is a manifestation of Krishna's illusory potency. So if you take shelter of Krishna, it's so simple. If you take shelter of Krishna, the material energy will never ever bewilder us. And we will liberate you. Door to the cage of our bondage would be open and we can fly away. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Comments? Corrections? We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.